Welcome to the 2018 US midterm election night under the scenario that Bernie Sanders is the incumbent president. Let's get right into it. Here's the governor's map with seats that are already called before counting starts in blue or red, and the same for the Senate map. So we'll be seeing tonight if Democrats can keep that Senate control, and we'll be seeing what can happen on the gubernatorial level as well. So we are starting to get counts in for the Indiana Senate seat, early Democrat lead there, but that could change. Uh, there's no gubernatorial race there. So let's just fast forward now. It is now 7 p.m. on the Eastern Coast, and these are the announcements we are going to make. So at this stage, we are starting to get counts for one of the other Senate seats. Florida started. Early Democrat lead there, 7.6%. That's quite big, so Democrats will be hoping it stays like that all of election night. And on governor level, we're seeing early leads for Democrat candidates in Florida, Georgia, and New Hampshire, and early leads for Republicans in South Carolina and Vermont. And let's fast this forward to 8 p.m. 8 p.m. on the Eastern Coast. Well, there's quite a few races going on right now, and on the Senate level, Republicans have retaken the lead in Indiana, but only leading by 0.1%, so that is still very close. Meanwhile, Ohio, they've started counting early Democrat lead. West Virginia, Democrats in the lead. Michigan, the same. Pennsylvania, the same. North Dakota, there is an early Democrat lead. Same in Tennessee. Uh, Same in Tennessee. Sorry, we accidentally, that shouldn't be solid red yet. We don't know how that's going to go. And Texas early lead, but only 0.8%. That's very close. We see in the Mississippi special election, Democrats lead by 0.9%, but here's a close one. Missouri, Democrats lead by 0.5. That is so close. That's so close. Now let's look at the gubernatorial election and what's happening there. So, no calls this hour gubernatorially, but we can say that Democrats are leading in Ohio and Connecticut, as well as South Dakota, then Republicans lead in Maryland and Texas. So perhaps I should explain, how this is working. So there's a Senate here. This has consequences for federal government, but for those of you who don't know, this is effectively each state electing their president of that state, the governor, and they can effectively sign and veto legislation. What happens in one state doesn't influence the other, so you really don't need to think too much about this, but it's still nice to think about and show general national trends. Let's fast forward the clock to 9 p.m. 9 p.m. on the Eastern Coast, and let's see how things are doing in the Senate. We actually have a few calls we're making this hour. We can call the state of Florida for the Democrats. We can call the state of Ohio for the Democrats, and Michigan and Pennsylvania. Huge states, all all very strong states with large populations. That'll be very good for the Democrats. And counting started in Arizona, where Democrats are up 4.9, and Wisconsin, where Democrats are up 11.5%. If the Democrats hold the leads in the states they have, and not even counting states that, haven't started counting votes yet, the Democrats would keep that Senate majority. Of course, you know, they will want to be getting as many seats as possible, but that is very interesting thing to think about. Of course, we're not calling the Democrats get a Senate majority yet. That still very much could change. Mail-in votes could definitely favor the Republicans. Meanwhile, on a gubernatorial level, we do have a few calls we are making. We are calling New Hampshire for the Democrats. We are calling Connecticut for the Democrats as well, and we're calling Vermont for the Republicans. Meanwhile, a couple of races have just started their counting now. Arizona Republicans lead by 11.2. Nebraska Republicans lead by 11.2. Uh, what else we got coming in here? Kansas early Democrat lead 1.7%, and Wisconsin Democrat lead 8.2%. So things looking good generally in nationwide trends for the Democratic Party tonight. If I was Bernie Sanders, I would be feeling very happy about this and my 2020 re-election chances. And let's fast forward this to 10 p.m. at night on the eastern coast. So, we do have a few calls when we're making in the Senate. Two to be precise. We are calling West Virginia and Wisconsin for the Democrats, putting the Democrats on 48, too closer to that magic number 50 that will help them retain control of the Senate as they have their current vice president. Meanwhile, they also have early leads in Montana and Nevada, where voting is just closed. And we're looking for in the governors, we can call Florida for the Democrats. We can also call Ohio for the Democrats. We're calling Maryland as a Republican state. Oklahoma as a Republican state. We finally started to get some votes in. It's a bit weird with the governor thing there. Texas, Republican, but only by 6.2%. That's a major warning for Republicans in future elections, and was once a ruby red state. Nebraska, red, but only by 10. Wisconsin, we can call for blue after about an hour of counting, and first results are coming in from Iowa and also from Nevada but we can call Arkansas right out the gate. That's going red. So Democrats will have more governors than Republicans after tonight. Of course, no serious national implications, but again, shows generally how the country's feeling. So we fast forward to 11 p.m. at night. Well, what's happening in the Senate? We can call two more seats for the Democrats. Arizona and Nevada, the Democrats will maintain their Senate majority for another 2 years. They have done it. They will hold the Senate, and I'm actually not keeping track of the House, but from the information I have received, it does look like they are on track to keep that as well. We also know that they're going to be holding that seat in Minnesota that is up for the special election. We can call that. That puts them on 51. So not looking bad for them at all. If we're looking in the gubernatorial level, we can call South Carolina for the Republicans. We can also call Arizona for the Republicans. So we see quite a lot of split ticket voting going on. I'll show you once we've got all results in. We have South Dakota going blue and Nevada going blue. So there we go. So it is now, fast forward, midnight on the east coast of the US. Well, I recommend if you're on the east coast of the US and still watching results come in, you could probably call it a night because we've already seen a Democrat majority in the Senate. We can see Democrats did quite well amongst governors. looks like the Democrats will retain that majority in the House. So unless you're watching for a specific race, yeah, no, you've done your job by staying up to watch this. Thank you. Um, Meanwhile, in Texas, Texas now narrow Republican lead. Democrat lead. Very narrow Democrat lead for Beto O'Rourke. So, if Texas goes blue, that is going to be something huge. Meanwhile, Montana, they re-elect John Tester, the Democratic senator, for another term. So let's see what's happening gubernatorially. We can call Georgia for the Democrats. We can call that for Stacey Abrams. We can call Kansas for the Democrats. And we can call Iowa for the Democrats. They've just started counting in Alaska, and it's an early Democrat lead. So, because of, the time, we're going to update every 2 hours. So let's fast forward to 2 a.m. What has happened since then? Well, we can now, at this state on the Senate level, call the seat of Indiana. Democrats have pulled forward just in the last few percentages of the votes being counted there, and it has paid off for them. We can call the state of Tennessee, where Republicans hold an approximately 3-point lead right now. No other really big calls when it comes to the Senate elections. So we're going to check out what's happening on the gubernatorial level, and we can now call Alaska as a state with a Democrat governor, and Rhode Island as well. Democrats will have 34 governors as contrast to the Republicans' 16. There's no doubt this is a blue wave, just like 2016. This is going to be written down in the history books as a huge night of triumph for the Democratic Party. So let's fast forward to 4 a.m. on the East Coast of the US. Imagine some of the early birds of you on the East Coast are just waking up. So let's see what's happening. Well, we've called the Mississippi special election and the Missouri Senate election for the Democrats. That's looking very good for them. And we're looking at Texas. We're not calling it, but it is certainly a decent lead. It is a decent lead at this point. As for North Dakota, we're not calling that either. Let's fast forward to 6 a.m. in the morning. Well, we can finally call North Dakota for the Republicans and Texas for the Democrats. So thank you for joining us. Let's just have a minute to look at this map because, wow, blue wave. This was absolutely amazing. A clear endorsement of Bernie Sanders' policies. Uh, a lot of exit polls are showing approval rates of something like, I think, 56% approve, maybe only about 30% disapprove, and then some undecided. This is really showing his popularity. If I were him, I would be very optimistic about 2020. And we see this isn't really nationalized, but generally gubernatorial results leaning in a Democratic direction. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy.